Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. What's up, everybody? Happy Labor Day from Las Vegas, Nevada. Hope everybody has some plans set up this weekend for themselves. I know I do. I'll be sitting around watching some college football, some UFC, some Game 7s in hockey, and even throwing a little bit of kayaking into that mix. So I hope everybody gets to spend the last traditional weekend of summer with their family and friends. As for us here on the podcast, well, our article today is from the Daily Beast, and it's relatively long, so we're just going to jump right in. This article is by Kate Bricklet, who is absolutely amazing. If you don't follow Kate on Twitter yet and you're not following her work, what are you waiting for? She's been absolutely amazing throughout this whole entire thing. And you know how I feel about most journalists these days, so that doesn't, I don't heap praise on journalists too often. But I think that Kate is somebody who really cares about the truth. I think that Kate understands it's her job to put her personal politics to the side when pursuing things like this, and I think she's done an incredible job of doing so. So whenever Kate at the Daily Beast has an article, you know we're going to jump in and take a look. So if you haven't followed her, you haven't checked out her work yet, you know, you've been living under a rock or something, make sure you do that. So this article is from the Daily Beast, and the headline: Here's where Jeffrey Epstein donated right before his arrest. A Lithuanian ballet company, a shadowy French agency, an Italian sexual counseling group. Epstein lavished tens of thousands on these mysterious businesses. A Lithuanian ballet group, huh? Oh, I wonder why he had any interest in that. An Italian... a shadowy French agency. Lord only knows what that's going to be. An Italian sexual counseling group? What? Tens of thousands of dollars on these businesses. Let's dive in and see what Kate has uncovered. In the year before his arrest for trafficking minors, Jeffrey Epstein used his shadowy foundation to lavish $891,440 across a dozen nonprofits, including one group in France that was created shortly before Epstein's contribution. Oh, that doesn't smack of impropriety. I guess it's just a coincidence that this place popped up right before Epstein threw him some dough. Better dig a bit deeper into that, authorities. Better take a look at whose name is on the owner's slip. Epstein's Gratitude America Ltd. donated tens of thousands throughout 2018 to the obscure group in Paris, along with a Lithuanian ballet company, an Italian psychology group that offers psychotherapy and sexual counseling. Now, out of all of those that we're talking about here, the Lithuanian ballet company is the most disturbing in my opinion. We know that they loved girls from Eastern Europe. We know that they loved girls from war-torn countries where they could dangle the carrot of success in front of them to draw them to America and into their web. And we know that a lot of girls from Eastern Europe have went unnamed. So Lord only knows what the hell they were using that ballet company for. The French group, whose name translates to Association for the Promotion of National Cultural Policy, conducted in the 80s and 90s of the 20th century, launched in July 2018 with $57,897 from Epstein, public records reveal. The Association for the Promotion of National Cultural Policy, conducted in the 80s and the 90s of the 20th century? What in the ever-living F does that even mean? Why would Jeffrey Epstein be donating to that? Why would he be launching something like that? The organization lists an address in the 14th arrondissement in a building mostly occupied by doctors' offices. But the association wasn't listed among the building's buzzers and mailboxes, and it doesn't appear to have any online presence or known ownership. That, my friends, is what we call a front company. Yeah, that's right. Washing money, money laundering, moving money around. Lord only knows what they were up to at this company. Again, are the French authorities busy doing something else? Do they have no interest in the fact that this psychopath predator had many ties to France? Do they not care that Jean-Luc Brunel is a huge part of what's going on here and must be brought in? Folks, what is going on in France? Epstein frequently visited Paris, where he owned an $8.6 million apartment steps from the Arc de Triomphe. Indeed, police handcuffed the sex offender on a New Jersey tarmac just after he returned from France in July 2019. Again, France is a huge part of what's going on in this story, and there are many rocks that have been left unturned there. There needs to be a full accounting of Epstein's behavior in France. And the French authorities, to this point, seem like they just don't care. And I most certainly don't know anything about France, folks, all right? I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't know anything about their legal system. I don't know anything about any of it. But I will tell you this, you would think in a Western country that a prolific sex trafficking operation gets, popped up in your city and there's action going on from that hub, you would be more interested in what's going on. So I would think that there's something real fishy going on in France, folks. And obviously Epstein, Brunel, and Maxwell, to a certain extent, are probably still receiving protection from who knows who in France. Several of Epstein's survivors claim the financier, pedophile, abused them in Paris according to lawsuits filed against his estate. One survivor, Tila Davies, said Epstein flew her from Madrid to Paris, where he crept into her room and raped her in 2003. Another woman, identified as Mary Doe, claimed Epstein invited her to his Parisian home and arranged for her to attend a concert accompanied by a world-famous supermodel. Well, isn't that nice? Let the speculation begin, huh? A world-famous supermodel. I wonder. Now, I don't have any evidence of this, but could it be Tyra Banks? We know she was always around. Virginia Roberts, who says Epstein kept her as his sex slave, claimed Epstein and his alleged accomplice, co-conspirator, fellow child molester, general all-around scumbag Ghislaine Maxwell, abused her in France too. Maxwell, who is awaiting trial in a federal prison on charges related to Epstein's teen sex trafficking ring, denies Roberts' accusations. Well, she could take those denials and a couple of bucks to the corner store to get a bagel, right? Because her denials don't mean jack. Nobody believes her. The federal prosecutors don't believe her either. In fact, 2 of the charges Maxwell was slapped with was because she was lying. Roberts has also accused Maxwell of ordering her to have sex with the owner of a large hotel chain during one trip to France, according to a cache of recently unsealed court records. The encounter occurred around the time of Naomi Campbell's birthday party, Roberts claimed. All right, so the owner of the large chain is Pritzker, probably. I mean, that's the one person who's been named in the document, so I'm guessing Pritzker. And also, I think I said Tyra Banks earlier. I meant Naomi Campbell. So, look, we know that Virginia was there. We saw the pictures, right? We saw the pictures of her at the party, etc. And I don't mean with Prince Andrew. I'm talking about the Naomi Campbell party. So we know that she was there for sure. That is a fact, 100%, can't even assail that. And we know that Virginia has went on record and said this stuff under oath. So there needs to be a lot more looked into what occurred in France. I don't know how much more I can stress that. And obviously the United States of America only has so much power to put pressure on France to engage in an investigation here. But I would think that the people of France could put their thumb on the government and force an investigation. But again, I don't really know the ins and outs of French politics, to be honest with you. So, in a deposition, Roberts said she had sexual contact with Maxwell in a fancy hotel overlooking the Champs-Élysées, and that Maxwell brought in a red-headed French girl after approaching her in Paris. Maxwell was allegedly trying to teach Roberts to recruit victims. Wow. So they were at this fancy hotel that overlooked the river, and Maxwell thinks it's a good idea to bring in a redheaded French girl to help teach Virginia how to recruit more victims for the trafficking ring. I mean, France is just full of stories like this. I mean, we have the story of Weinstein and Epstein in France. You know, again, there needs to be a serious investigation. She walked up to this French girl to show me how easy it was for her to procure girls, Roberts testified. I wasn't very good at it, and, you know, it was part of my training to bring in other girls. So she walked up to her. Within 5 minutes, she had her number, and that girl came over later that night to the hotel and serviced Jeffrey. And it shows you how well-oiled Ghislaine Maxwell had her pitch. Maxwell had everything lined up, she had everything ready to go, and she was very convincing when it came to bringing young girls and women into the Jeffrey Epstein web. Epstein's Paris apartment didn't just house victims. He invited former friends, including disgraced producer Harvey Weinstein, to visit. While in Paris, Weinstein reportedly tried to assault one woman in Epstein's circle who was giving the film mogul a non-sexual massage. And we know that that was the falling out from Epstein and Weinstein as reported. Last September, French police asked for survivors and witnesses to come forward for their own investigation into Epstein's alleged abuse. Cops also raided Epstein's Paris apartment and the offices of Karen Models, the agency of Epstein's friend and his accused procurer of underage girls, Jean-Luc Brunel. So, while that all happened, nothing came from it. Right? So it was kind of like lip service. Let's raid these places. Let's go and make it look like we're going to do something, but then just forget about it. Because we've seen no movement in France. We've seen no one be brought in. We've seen no questioning, nothing. According to Roberts, Brunel once bought 3 French girls from their parents as a gift to Epstein. Brunel has denied Roberts' claims and any involvement with Epstein's trafficking ring. Maritza Vasquez, a former bookkeeper for Brunel's MC2 agency, claimed in 2010 deposition that Epstein and Brunel were trying to start a new company with a woman in Paris, but the venture never materialized. Epstein provided instructions to Brunel, saying that he wanted to have the same contracts as Donald Trump, Vasquez added, referring to Trump's shuttered modeling agency, and that he wanted to have the same kind of benefits for the scouters, whatever that means. The fact that these modeling agencies are so rife with this sort of abuse and with this sort of degenerate behavior from the people who are supposed to be in charge makes me sick. And honestly, I have a suspicious eye on anybody who's ever been involved in modeling, Trump included. It's absolutely just a disgusting industry that needs some serious regulation and some serious oversight. Because when people like these are able to operate freely, and not only operate freely as like some little small group, but these are people that are locked in with the most important people in modeling. And they're allowed to act in this way. They're allowed to abuse these girls like nobody knew what was going on. Stop it. People were talking about Brunel and his behavior all the way back to the 80s. Meanwhile, Gratitude America bankrolled Association Mind, a psychology organization in Rome, for 2 years in a row with a $25,000 donation in 2018 and a $60,000 donation in 2017. Association Mind did not return messages left by the Daily Beast. So, Epstein bankrolled this psychology organization 2 years in a row with $85,000 total. Why in the hell would he be bankrolling a psychology organization in Rome? Another situation that most assuredly has to be looked into. Geez, that was really weird, folks. I just had a power outage here, kind of. Like a quick, flicker of the lights and everything went out. Thankfully, I have all of this stuff set up on mobile power right now, or else it would have just crashed the whole entire thing. So every now and then your boy catches a break, I guess. This whole thing with Italy, though, I don't understand. I don't even know. I'm going to have to reach out to some of my people in Italy and see if anybody's ever heard of this company or anything like that. According to its website, the group was born in 2015 from the idea of 3 young psychologists to promote knowledge of the psychological world through clinical and training activities using different artistic and creative forms. The other international donation for $28,543 went to a ballet theater in Vilnius, Lithuania. One online directory of companies indicates the group is the Baltic Ballet Theater, which did not return an email seeking comment. How many ballet groups have these people donated to? How many different groups and organizations that have to do with children did these people donate to? And that was always their MO, right? And you see it all the time with these sick bastards, from Glenn Dubin to Jeffrey Epstein to you name it. They all hide behind their charitable works. They all hide behind the fact that they give away a bunch of money. Meanwhile, looking at the evidence that we've compiled here, all the money they've given away has been from ill-gotten gains anyway, so it's not like they're even being generous. Gratitude America's money appears to have come exclusively from a $10 million donation in 2015 from investor Leon Black, whom the Attorney General of the U.S. Virgin Islands recently subpoenaed over his relationship with Epstein. We've talked at length about Leon Black recently, and again, this is bad news for Leon Black. His money funded this Gratitude America. Gratitude America was obviously a front company. So now that means Leon Black's money is involved with Jeffrey Epstein's money. Wouldn't that make him part of the criminal conspiracy? The charity, created in 2012, didn't list expenditures until 4 years later. By then, Epstein's accountant, Richard Kahn, had replaced Epstein as the president of the group. The financier, pedophile's longtime personal attorney, Darren Indyke, was vice president, while U.S. Virgin Islands tax attorney Eric Kellerhalls was secretary and treasurer. Indyke and Kahn are the co-executors of Epstein's more than $600 million estate. So, you see how entangled Kahn and Indyke are with Epstein's operation. You see how they're part of the day-to-day activity. How in the world can they be the executors? How in the world can they still not be facing charges? That's the question I'm asking, because there is no way that these two dudes weren't involved in facilitating Jeffrey Epstein's criminal activity. Gratitude America donated to several nonprofits linked to people in Epstein's orbit, including the Junior Tennis Championship Center in College Park, Maryland, where Next modeling agency honcho Faith Kate's son worked. JTCC received $10,000 from Gratitude America in 2018 and $25,000 the year prior. Last year, Cates would only provide a vague comment on the JTCC donation, saying, "My son volunteered in high school, and I believe they gave the donation back." So we talked about Faith Cates as well, and how she is another enabler in this stupid-ass modeling industry. Another person who should be looked into. I'm not even kidding when I say a very big net should be thrown over the modeling industry as a whole, and there should be a comprehensive investigation into their behavior. Harvard's Hasty Pudding Theater Troupe received $50,000 from Epstein in 2018 and another $50,000 in 2016. As we previously reported, Selena Dubin, the daughter of Epstein's former girlfriend Eva Dubin and her husband Glenn, who was accused of sexual misconduct by Roberts, was a member of the Hasty Pudding Institute. The Dubins have denied Roberts' claims. Now remember, the Dubins were also the house where the Swedish girl was at, where she was all shook from her encounters with Epstein, Maxwell, and Vickers. So that took place in the Dubin's kitchen. And then the Swedish girl ends up as the Dubin's nanny. Sure sounds like she was brought there by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and told that this is what she was going to do. The Dubins, my friends, are very, very close to Jeffrey Epstein, very close to the leadership structure of this criminal enterprise, and they must also be looked at with a fine-tooth comb. Everything must be gone through, their financials, you name it. The son of Epstein's accountant, George V. Delson, who prepared tax returns for the hedge funder's defunct COUQ Foundation, solicited a $25,000 donation for the Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey. Lawrence Delson, a professor at NYU and Fashion Institute of Technology, serves on the theater's board of trustees. Well, isn't that funny? Isn't that coincidental? And then you'll see all of these people, when they're questioned about this, are going to say, well, we weren't close to Jeffrey Epstein. We didn't really know him. Come on, our relationship wasn't that tight. And we know that's bullshit, right? We know it's a bunch of nonsense at this point. We know that all of these people were in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit. We know that they were all hanging out, doing business with each other. And the second you start doing business with him, the second you start receiving funds from him, that puts you in a new category. That puts you as someone who has received ill-gotten gains from a criminal enterprise. Therefore, your assets should be seized, and you should be investigated as well under RICO. Bonnie Monty, the theater's artistic director, said her organization knew nothing about the anonymous donor. How many times have we heard that BS too? Lawrence did solicit the donation, which we did not know anything about, Monty told the Daily Beast. We did try to do some research to find out where it came from. We never knew who the anonymous donor was until over a year later, after Jeffrey Epstein's death. Monty said she looked online but could only find an unrelated Florida-based veterans charity called Gratitude America. Well, I'll give props to Bonnie Monty here for at least responding to the Daily Beast's question. How many times do we see the no comment nonsense from these people? So at least credit for that. But as far as taking this donation from Jeffrey Epstein, bad news bears. I don't know anything about this company, but they should probably donate that money somewhere else. Delson, who didn't return messages, told Monty, in the interest of transparency, in case anybody asks, that $25,000 came from one of Epstein's foundations. I said, who is Jeffrey Epstein? Monty recalled replying, adding that she was horrified to learn who Epstein was and figured it was good his money was going to charity. Well, good, because nobody should be getting that. Any of these ill-gotten gains, by the way, should be directed right back into the estate, and the survivors should be up to get that money as well. Because all of these ill-gotten gains, how many people enrich themselves off of it? We know that Sarah Kellen Vickers and Groff and the Core Four did, but how many other people? The latest tax filings for Epstein's charity also reveal a $500,000 donation to the Kuhn Foundation, which received $150,000 from Epstein in 2017. CNBC previously revealed Epstein agreed to provide $1.4 million in funding for a PBS science show created by Robert Kuhn called Closer to the Truth. That show never got off the ground due to lack of funding following Epstein's suicide, allegedly. We talked about that a long time ago, about that show and how Jeffrey Epstein was the benefactor of it, and how after Epstein died, Kuhn wasn't able to launch the show because of the funding. And how many people, how many of these scientists had their hand in Jeffrey Epstein's pocket? How many scientists that we don't even know about, folks? And the scariest thing to me about that is, what the hell sort of projects were these people working on that Jeffrey Epstein had access to? That's something nobody really talks about. You know, we talk about the blackmail angle, et cetera, but how many of these scientists were working on top secret, classified, or otherwise deemed private projects that Epstein gained access to because of his money and the blackmail? I think there's something real big there. Kuhn told CNBC he met Epstein multiple times in New York and that a group of scientists, which had declined to name, introduced them. Kuhn claimed he didn't know about the sexual abuse accusations against Epstein, which he described as totally reprehensible. He added, "It is an example of the corruption of power distorts your own reality and then exercises this power over people who are psychologically defenseless." Again, another guy who knew nothing. Epstein didn't know you. He was just going to give you $1.4 million, huh, Mr. Kuhn? Nobody buys it, okay? I'm not believing that either. Epstein funded a slew of other organizations he's backed over the years, including $25,000 donation to the New School, $10,000 to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, and $35,000 to the Edge Foundation, a society of science and tech intellectuals which hosted the exclusive billionaires dinner Epstein attended. And that was all put together by John Brockman. John Brockman is a book publisher involved in a lot of publishing of books of scientists, et cetera, and they had this thing called the Edge Foundation, where it was for all of these so-called super smart people to go and hang out. You know, an old boys club pretty much. And it was at that Edge Foundation where Jeffrey Epstein met a bunch of people. Humanity Plus, a Los Angeles-based nonprofit which says it's dedicated to elevating the human condition through technology, received $100,000 from Epstein in 2018. The group previously operated as the World Transhumanist Association, which received $20,000 from another Epstein group in 2011. Well, we know that Jeffrey Epstein had a fascination with transhumanism. We know that he also wanted to seed the world with his DNA. In conclusion, we can also determine that he was batshit effing crazy. In a statement on its website, Humanity Plus said Gratitude America did not include Epstein's name on the donation. This donation of $100,000 was put to a good cause as evidenced in Humanity Plus Tax Schedule B, Part 1, that states the donation was granted to educational research and development of artificial intelligence, the ethical use of AI, and increasing awareness of how AI can benefit humanity, the group said. Yeah, sure. So basically what they're telling us is they were working on Skynet. What's next? We're going to have a computer with Jeffrey Epstein's essence in it? I mean, these people are crazy. This transhumanism, the whole AI realm, all of these people need to be watched closely because they're going to really screw things up at some point. And if we reach the point of singularity, we are absolutely screwed. The AI research is diametrically opposed to the exploitive and abusive behaviors of Mr. Epstein that were recently revealed in the news. At the time we accepted this donation from Gratitude America Ltd., Humanity Plus had no knowledge of Mr. Epstein's horrific alleged criminal activity, and we strongly condemn it. Yeah, because you can't even do a simple Google search to take a look. Give me a break, man. Everybody knew who Epstein was, all right? Even if it was just in passing. You mean to tell me that these super smart scientists don't know how to use Google? In 2018, Gratitude America also donated $25,000 to the Cancer Research Wellness Institute, a California nonprofit founded by the late Howard Strauss, who was the son of alternative cancer therapy doctor Max Gerson. Epstein's charity shelled out $75,000 to CRWI the year before. You see the web, right? How this all works? Oh, the little nudge to the ribs with the elbow. Oh, yeah, you donate to my charity and I'll donate to yours. And it's all just one big shell game where they wash their money. Before he died in June 2019, Strauss told the Daily Beast in an email that he'd never heard of Gratitude America or Epstein, and that he personally thanks donors no matter the size of their contributions. A donation of that size would be the single largest donation we've ever seen, and believe me, we'd notice, Strauss wrote. I am president of CRWI and can assure you we have never received a donation of that magnitude from anyone. I would know, Strauss said. We are perennially short of funds and would love to be the recipient of such largesse, but not from sexual predators. Strauss added before apparently referring to Trump like the orange shit gibbon or his imitators. The orange shit gibbon? Got to admit, you get an A for creativity from me on that one. It's usually just orange man bad, but the orange shit gibbon? It's actually pretty funny. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. It's actually pretty funny. All right, so look, What this establishes, folks, is that Jeffrey Epstein, even after his death, even after his conviction, was still throwing all sorts of money around, and people were still accepting it. So when these idiots, these liars, these snakes, these enablers try and run that bullshit on you, that they had no idea what Jeffrey Epstein was, what he was about, or what he was involved in, you could look them directly in the eye, put a smirk on your face, and tell them that they're lying. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. I will be back later, and we will rock and roll all over again. Hope everybody enjoys the kickoff to their holiday weekend, and I hope that all of you have an amazing day.